Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself. Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast. I'm your host, Nat Nat, and today this is for the ladies and gentlemen also, because you need to support. We're going to be getting into the conversation of perimenopause and menopause and some of the taboos that you've heard, some of the misconceptions, and also be validated with your experiences that you might get some, oh, it makes sense. My guest today is Amita. And Amita, could you introduce yourself to myself and the listeners so we can get to know who you are?
Yeah. My name is Amita Sharma, and I am founder of a company called Nourish Doc. The idea behind this is really making a global holistic wellness platform for help women navigate from perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. So here I am in front of you.
So before we get in the conversation, are you willing to do a mindful moment with me?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay. And for the listeners, as you always hear my safety spiel, when I ask to close the eyes, if you're driving or need your visual, please do not close your eyes. Yet the other prompts you're able to follow. So, Amita, I'll ask you to get comfortable in your seating. And if it's safe to do so, you're going to gently close your eyes and you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out. You're not going to try and control your breath or the rhythm of it. You're just going to observe it, allowing it to guide you into your body. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up, and that's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop deeper into your body. There may be some thoughts or to-do lists that have popped up in your mind, and that's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating space between the awareness and the thoughts and dropping deeper into your body, allowing yourself to just be. Again, more thoughts may have popped up. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, beginning again, creating even more space between the awareness and the thoughts, and dropping deeper into your body, allowing yourself to just be. Be with the breath. Now, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while still staying with your breath. How's your heart doing?
Great, I'm relaxed.
So, can you explain to some of the listeners what perimenopause is?
Yeah, so a lot of us don't even know this term, perimenopause. So perimenopause is the transition years for women before they hit the menopause. So it's basically it's not one switch that happens. Most of us think, oh, menopause, my periods are off, fine. But the body starts preparing yourself for this transition. Could be 10 years, could be 4 years, could be more. In my case, I started doing perimenopause, started suffering perimenopause when I was 40. And so your body is slowly preparing you before you hit the off button of menopause. And that perimenopause is the transition years before you hit menopause.
Mhm. What did you learn in your experience? What were some of the symptoms that you had no idea and that when with your research you discovered?
Yeah, so I am not a medical doctor. Big disclaimer. What I have done is that I have interviewed over 3,000 or 4,000 of holistic experts, integrative medicine experts from all over the world. And we've done a lot of in-depth research on perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. So one of the things, what I discovered, and I interviewed a lot of gynecologists, is that OB-GYNs are not taught about perimenopause in medical schools. That is the biggest thing that I personally discovered. And no wonder when I was going through perimenopause, I went to my, physicians or medical practitioners, and nobody told me that this is what is happening. Your hormones are going out of whack and you need to do XYZ. And I was, offered a depression, some kind of a medication to take care of my anxiety and depression. And that's still typically the case. And that's the biggest thing I felt that I discovered. OB-GYNs told me that perimenopause is not taught to them at all. Menopause, subject of menopause is taught only for 8 hours during the 15 years of learning about female physiology, but that's it.
Hmm.
So that is, I think, the biggest gap we have in today's day and age about perimenopause is that we don't know where to turn to as women who are going through perimenopause. And then we are caught by surprise, the way I was caught by surprise. I had no clue. Different type of symptoms. I thought, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. I mean, strange things, you start imagining, but you don't know that you're going through perimenopause and it's okay.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That is the biggest problem I feel.
Yeah, there hasn't, like, as you said, there's like only 8 hours, and then there's not research. It's only now coming to the forefront that they're starting to do research and inquire about it. Yet it's not fully in the medical system. Those are people that are the outliners that are in holistic and that really want to go outside of the parameter of the medical system to start finding the resources and tools to support and validate women in their experiences. Because, like you said, the majority of people think menopause, oh, you're just going to stop your period. You might, your vagina might get dry or everything's going to start sagging because you don't have the estrogen. Yet that's not the case for everybody. You don't always get hot flashes. You don't always feel the anger or rage. There's a plethora of different symptoms. And I think it's really great that you have created a community where women can share and, work together with this and not have to hide in, secrecy and shame and guilt and really just be lost of like what's really going on with me and not feeling validated by the medical system, not being seen.
Uh, and that's the problem. It's actually shocking, if you ask my personal opinion, is that we have not paid attention to this phase of a woman's life. I mean, like we first of all, women topics are underfunded and under researched, but this particular topic is just beginning, like you said, to talk. We are beginning to talk about it, and thanks so much to some of these celebrities who are at that age group now and who are vocal about it and talking about it. And now, as a society, as a community, we are still at least opening up the subject, but still, there is like so much work to be done. We do not understand this even now because of the lack of clinical trials, the lack of research. Can you believe our gut microbiome for women changes? Our brain changes,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
I mean, can you imagine? So you're a different person. You just have to put a reset button when you're going through all that, and all the other symptoms, of course. But if you're fundamentally your body is changing, your microbiome is changing, your mental health is changing, your weight is, you tend to put on weight. All those things are changing. You are a completely different person, and we don't understand that. And that is a fundamental issue right now.
Yeah. And, the beauty stigma that's placed onto women, all of a sudden when the body's changing, then you don't feel that you're of value because the beauty standards have changed significantly for you. So then that becomes some self-hatred, some self-loathing towards yourself. And then you're seeking on the outside to make me feel my youth and not really, honor your body. You're actually chastising it and getting angry with it. So then that creates its own blockages and diseases and separation. And so the next question I have, when you were speaking to the gynecologist and holistic, Did the topic of emotional suppression come up with regards to perimenopause and menopause?
So I think OB-GYN did not bring the emotional suppression part of it. A lot of other holistic experts, like when I talk to the mental health experts or neuroscientists, those people like yourself, other people, they brought in the emotional suppression part of it. And they talked about how women generally, it doesn't matter which ethnic group or which part of the world, for example, generally suppress their emotions as they're growing up. That's how they are trained,
Hmm.
and then they don't open up with their emotions at all, and that is a problem. We need to say how we feel or express. The expression part doesn't exist, and suddenly when they're hitting perimenopause, menopause, all these years they have been full of empathy, caring. Suddenly they said, "Oh, I don't care. I need to take care of myself." I mean, that I heard from so many women, and that was also one of the reasons was they were also going through separation in their relationships, maybe a divorce, and then at that point they just say, "I don't give. I really don't care." So
Yeah.
I and actually, the data proves that 60% of the women who are getting divorced are through these years of tumultuous years, if I may say so, through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. So there is a data that validates the fact that the suppression of emotions, or whatever you want to call it, or other reasons that lack of open communication or other symptoms can also impact their relationships and eventually lead to a separation or divorce.
Yeah. Because I know one of the symptoms can be a lot of, like you said, irritation and rage and frustration, and how you said they were very empathetic, nurturing. Now it's all of a sudden like, I am not doing this anymore. And I think some of that becomes an awakening that you were in a role that you thought you had to be a certain way, where now
Yeah.
it's like, I didn't even consider myself as a human being. I othered myself and I was totally in this role, and not realizing that some of that was a trauma response to find some safety and security, because it's a very powerful state to be giving. It's a very vulnerable state to receive. And
Mhm.
so when you're trying to earn your way or prove this image of yourself, that's denial of emotions. And when there is rage and when there's anger and frustration, a lot of people want to say that there's an issue or label, the woman that's neurotic, and there's like, she's just the B word and she's just this and that, where it's like, well, that's a protective emotion. What
Mhm.
emotions is she protecting that she doesn't feel safe to really express and feel? That
Yeah.
she has to come to this default of an emotion, because when she feels that other emotion, she doesn't feel validated or seen or listened to. So this one has to come in defense of protecting herself and having a voice. So it has to come out in this way, because the other one, there's no voice for it. And being able to work through that. Did you experience any of that for yourself?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I grew up in a culture where women have to give, right? And I think it's not necessarily the culture that I am coming from, in Indian culture, but I noticed that, like I said, all the cultures are similar as when it comes to women. I'm sorry to say that is the truth. I was shocked to have this revelation. You asked me what was I surprised about. I was surprised about no matter which woman I talked to, they all felt the same in the way I feel. And I also felt that, I felt as growing up or as an adult, I kind of molded myself to please others, right? I did that. Thinking that, oh, if I do this kind of a behavior, or if I behave like this, that other person who I'm trying to please would be pleased with me. I tried that for years and years, decades, I should say that. And you know what? They were never pleased, right? Because I was not being who I am, truthful. I was not being truthful to myself. I was not expressing my feelings. And I felt that whenever I tried to bring my feelings or true feelings, I was not being listened to. I was being kind of dismissed, because my role was, no, you need to kind of, in a very strange way, serve what I am trying to say to you, and you don't have an opinion. right?
Mhm.
So I think it happened to me. I'm never expressed that, but it happened to me for decades. And then during the perimenopause journey, like you were saying, I don't know what happened. Suddenly, my all these built up. It wasn't rage. It was built up, pent up emotions or pent up feelings, which I had never expressed for like 40 years or so. Suddenly started coming to me, and it just started becoming anger, like, and I was not angry at someone else. I was angry at myself
Mhm.
for doing that to myself,
Mhm.
for not allowing myself to express, for trying to please other people and not trying to please or me myself
Yeah.
what I want. And I think this feeling so many women go through. I was lucky that I survived because of the anger and all the pent up emotions and all that thing. I was able to somehow get through it, but I think it can completely put you in a path which could be reckless in a way,
Very,
right?
very much, because it could hijack your behavior and your
Hmm.
choices, and then you don't really have clarity. So it goes from one extreme to the next extreme rather than be in the middle of, okay, let me feel. Because again, it's healing. The crux of healing is, does it have to go deep? Yeah. The deep is you have to feel your emotions. If you really want to get your authentic self, you have to feel your
Yeah.
emotions, and not in a way that you identify with them, that you
Yeah.
feel them, you listen to the information. Like too much stoicism makes it that you're not human. And
Hmm.
we see where that's going in the world right now. And
Yes.
too much, identifying with your emotions, thinking that your anger, thinking that your sadness, that isn't its benefit neither, because there's a weakness in that. It's just being able to feel these emotions and have safety and let them pass through. Like they're giving you some information. Like you said, you had a script in my mind that this is the way I need to be, and I need to find my validation on the outside of myself. So I'm
Hmm.
people pleasing. I'm trying to find my safety to be
Hmm.
recognized and for to see, we give because there is a chemical release that when somebody feels happy, it lights us up. Like we don't like there's a reward in this thing. And so when you have felt unsafe, you do that to feel a sense of belonging. Yet then all of a
Hmm.
sudden when there's awakening, it's like, wait a minute, who said I have to do all of this? And I
Hmm.
really appreciate your transparency of explaining, like, I got angry with myself because I had to see, like, you allowed this.
Yeah.
You tolerated certain things. Where was your voice? Why didn't you
Yeah.
stand up for you? And
Hmm.
so that grieving, because that's a grieving process, because there was
Hmm.
a loss and then there's a tenderness and there's an acceptance that has to be there, and being able to be accountable and seen and everything else. It's like, oh, and that's why you need radical compassion, and that's why you need radical kindness with yourself, because when it gets activated, it's like, what do I do with these emotions? Nobody's ever
Yeah.
given me a safe container when I was young to feel this stuff, and it feels like a tsunami of stuff, and it's very
Hmm.
disorientating. It's like, what personality am I? And I got so many different, because one minute I love you, but I hate you, and I want to be with you, but I don't. And you're feeling that all at once. And we haven't normalized this. We have a
Hmm.
really black and white thinking that it's one or the other. And it's like, no, you have different parts that are going on. Yet it's not identifying just with one, it's being able to integrate it all and have a wholeness with a W, so that you're able to listen to what's going on, yet be connected into self and have clarity within yourself so that you can have the autonomy of choosing, which is really deep work. And when,
It's very deep. Yeah.
go ahead.
No, no, I was just going to say, but sometimes you're so scared to express your emotions for the sake of pleasing others. And that's what happened to me. I'm just, I've never said that in a podcast, but that is the truth. Because you bring up a topic which is so deep inside me. And it's the fear that we all have, women, as women, sometimes in our families, in our close families. And that is a way some of the family members will control you so that you are pleasing them, and you keep pleasing them, but still that is a control, like a mental control is what I'm trying to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And then suddenly you realize that you have just given up your personal identity to please others, and they're never going to be pleased unless you behave in a certain way, and you're doing injustice to yourself, to your Atma, to your soul, right? And that's kind of the revelation I came up with, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I want to ask you, what has forgiveness looked like for you?
I yeah, I forgive people very easily. In the sense, I let go of things, right? That's the only way I feel to move forward. You let go of whatever has happened in the past. There's no point kind of holding on to the past. But on the other hand, if someone has not given you a safe container to your into your using your words here, but and you have forgiven them, forgiven them for whatever, but moving forward, you cannot let them again um, run over you or bulldoze you.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Of course,
It does,
boundaries. A
right?
lot of people get boundaries and forgiveness mixed up.
Yes, you still have to set your boundaries with the person or whoever, and yet you've forgiven them. But on the other hand, that doesn't mean that they can again take over and mold you into a way that you were before. So
Exactly.
forgiveness in my mind is that yes, you let go of whatever has happened in the past, but you don't let past again control you moving the present or the future.
Now, we've spoken about this perimenopause and menopause, and you spoke about your organization. Can you let the listeners know what you have to offer and where they can find you?
So, yeah, perimenopause is, like I said, something underfunded, under researched. So we decided to go very deep into this topic. So what we've done is we've created 20 plus programs that those are self-served initially, and then they're followed by expert-driven, where we invite experts from all over the world to give coaching or to give guidance to the clients. So we start with something really basic and something super affordable, and then go up the price. That really is the idea, to make it open for every woman in the world. And you can find us at nourishdoc.com, www.nourishdoc.com.
Okay. And for the listeners, it'll be in the show notes, so you're able to click. And just send a message. If at any time there was a tingle or an aha moment, that's your nervous system signaling to you that there was some information here that would serve you. So just reach out and find out some more information about this. I want to ask you, is there a question that I did not ask that you think would be valuable for the listeners?
Yeah, I think some of the one of the side symptom that I want to bring out, that a lot of women have, and they are not open to talk about, is this could be possible loss of libido that could impact their intimacy, that could impact their relationships with their partners or spouse, or so I think that is something women need to deeply, like we were talking about, hear that voice. If something like those kind of things are happening, to have open communication. And
Yeah,
that's also for the partners. You said that, you need support. So I think that is something that we as women ignore sometimes, but we need to bring it out.
we do. We do. I want to thank you for, giving us the most valuable thing you have in life, which is your time. And, the dedication of doing that alchemy, taking the impurities of your own life and turning it into gold, yet sharing that gold with others and giving a platform and a voice to so many women that they don't have it. So I want to thank you for everything that you're contributing and the light you're bringing into the world, Amita.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please remember to be kind to yourself.
Hey, you made it all the way here. I appreciate you and your time. If you found value in this conversation, please share it out. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit, it's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under LiftOneSelf. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, LiftOneSelf.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.